I might be able to actually make today's intro somewhat comprehensible, which is rare since I'm talking about side characters and general characterization settings of the characters within my stories. I wanted to mention something, and it's about body parts and bodies in general. Since I have this obsession with originality and keeping things as far away from our real world as possible, while simultaneously also keeping things somewhat believable for the sake of the reading experience itself. Terms like legs, hands, fingers, feet are somewhat acceptable to me, at least in my eyes, even though in a different world they would obviously have their own terms for these. I'm still at least attempting to speak and use the English language, and the reader needs to be able to somewhat understand what I'm trying to say as the writer. But when it comes to finer details, I just have a hard time imagining a burly monster slayer drenched in blood half the time, who also somewhat knows what a biceps is or where his livers are. Maybe some rather well educated individual within that settings could be studying bodies and how do they work, but my average adventurer having the full anatomy course feels unnatural. What I can see for the sake of my aforementioned originality is him knowing what muscles are and maybe naming them for himself, the individual ones, after, for example, monsters whose shape they remind him of, set parts in our world's terms. A biceps he calls a bull since it's burly and strong, nothing complicated, but what to expect from a Neanderthal. A different world would again obviously not have any bulls, so a similar monster would be used to describe that muscle with proper introduction of that monster or animal. Definitely would make more sense to me in this way rather than someone who swings weapon all day every day knowing what his brain is or that he needs to breathe oxygen. Obviously, he would be able to tell that he needs air and that its quality might differ from place to place. Without the finer details, I need to keep the knowledge spread in a natural manner where only characters that actually can possess it by means of education and experience should be the ones to ever mention it within the story. I do believe that I make sense to myself, even though I had failed at that many times before in these videos. I think that this time I am quite aware of what I need to do in order to bring this particular topic to life within my stories, within my books. But that's it for this one. And now for some winter stories of the Rapid Arrows Club. Last time, Speedy found out that a bit of snow can't hurt anyone, and now it's time for a snowy expedition. To Speedy's mild displeasure, this one begins quite early in the morning, although his complaints are met with laughter at best. and a joking offer from Redcap, who tells him that he should have just stayed in bed, and then Yarka and Mirek would have dragged him behind them as a full package, and it wouldn't be a proper expedition without a war cry of the club, reminding the boys to remain courageous yet kind, protect both the truth and the weak, and keep one's word as if it were holy. Then their target for the day is revealed, some hills by the Black Valley that have remained unexplored by these young adventurers until now. A fair warning by Mirek to climb steadily and not hurry up the hill, because otherwise it could end with a case of some nasty sickness as a result of sweating too hard in cold weather, while Speedy asks for compassion with hope that someone could help him carry his bag just in case anyone was feeling particularly gracious. Then a short break to drink some tea and, according to Speedy's wishes, eat some of the desserts he brought with himself to lighten up his load. Then they find a source of a small stream, completely frozen solid, creating this wonderful, inviting slide ready to take them into the unknown. So they squat into this human centipede and get ready for a ride, ice skating on their shoes, forward and down, the speeds picking up to Speedy's displeasure. He begins questioning his decision to join this glacial trip, and his worries do not remain unanswered by Mother Nature and Murphy's laws, because their jolly ride is cut short by a waterfall that sends them all tumbling into a pile of snow when Mirek notices someone screaming, and from behind the trees they watch a man punish some boy with a stick, while a girl stands on the side begging the man to stop, promising that they will be obedient from now on and properly train for a required amount of hours. When the punishment is over, the kids are sent to a nearby wagon to knee on the ground for an hour. This is obviously not something that the Rapideros could watch and remain silent about it, so they decide to investigate what's going on and why are the kids being abused this way. The plan is to climb down using a rope, landing behind the rest of the caravans, hopefully remain unseen and stealthily approach the one where the kids are being punished in. The ropes are ready with many knots to make the climb back up a bit easier for them. The descent is successful and the approach goes well. They knock on the door of the wagon, and when the kids see them, they try to tell them they are coming to help, and then they find out why the kids have to remain where things like that happen to them. Their mother unfortunately passed away, and their father is hospitalized long term. They are rope dancers or tightrope walkers with a circus, and unfortunately they have nowhere else to go. So Yarka offers them that he'll ask his aunt if she would be able to find a place for them until their father is finally discharged from the hospital. The siblings are more than willing to go, even eager to pay rent, promising that they are more than able to earn their keep while this conversation is taking place elsewhere, the man decides to go check on the pair if they are properly accepting his discipline. The group inside just barely hears him coming in time, so they hide in a nearby closet. So all he sees is the boy and the girl kneeling on the ground. So he just shoots one last warning to ensure that they'll keep at it for the entire hour. With the crisis temporarily over, Mirek tells the kids to pack their things, gather all of their belongings, and get ready to leave, with Speedy saying that the man was lucky that he had left when he did, otherwise he would have jumped at him like a devil from a box to teach him a lesson. But nevertheless, that didn't happen, and this is where I'm going to stop for today. And with more talks about settings and storytelling, and then new stories of the virtuous quintuplet that the rapid arrows are. Also, a note for myself, I'm aware that what I talk about in the intros about storytelling, that it's not anything new. I'm not discovering the equivalent of America. Most of it doesn't even really make sense, and the rest, someone had said it way better before. I am sure of that, but I truly do hope and believe that it's going to have an impact on my writing and on my ability to deliver myself a story that I would just wholeheartedly be able to accept.